So, yeah, this is a disclaimer that goes for this part and pretty much every single one after. Um, so, there are a lot of dramas on this iceberg, so I just want to say I'm not trying to bring back old drama and revive it. I'm simply explaining it for the purposes of the iceberg, so thank you. What's up, guys? I'm back with part 3 of the complete Geometry Dash Iceberg, and yeah, I'm gonna keep this intro real short. I added some more bonus entries, and yeah, let's get started. Desert Bus is the longest beaten level in the entire game. It's 8 hours long and the whole thing just looks like this, and it was verified by Nifty. This is basically the I have two sides version of the shopkeeper, and yeah, Zolgaroth is basically the evil version of the shopkeeper. And I believe the first appearance of Zolgaroth was in the first 2.2 sneak peek. In the Devon's part of Digital Descent, if the player dies at the beginning of his part where it shows his name, then his name will turn backwards and say Novdet, or however you're supposed to pronounce that. And it's not actually the only level he's done that, and he's also done it in the level Acid Rush. Low Death by Kermal is filled to the brim with Easter eggs absolutely everywhere. Everywhere you look, there will be an Easter egg. Like, anytime you miss an orb or something, you'll be met by some Easter egg, like death effect or something. One of the funnier ones I remember is at this one part, if you die, then you'll be met by this long paragraph that basically just has Kermal making fun of all the people who complain that he gets his levels that don't take a lot of effort rated, while their levels don't get rated, and just basically just calls them losers. He certainly does have a sense of humor, though. Peaceful by Xylonox is probably the most famous horror level out there. It's inspired by this one music video I forgot the name of, and basically it starts off all fun and cute and stuff, and then it glitches out, gets all creepy, and then shows a bunch of trypophobic imagery. And yeah, there's this one part with like the gaping mouth that just, it creeps the heck out of me. Interestingly enough, this level is actually impossible to play because this part is actually just, it's so object heavy, it just lags too much. And people, whenever 2.2 came out, a couple of YouTubers went to Peaceful to see if the optimization made it actually possible to play. Spoiler alert, no it didn't. Too Kid Friendly is a level that kind of does a similar thing to Peaceful, except the disturbingness of it is a little less blatant, and instead of just going from being all like fun and stuff to horror, it kind of gives you hints throughout the level. And overall, it really isn't that bad. It's pretty good, but the quality of the level is quite lower. And yeah, but overall it's good. It also seems to focus on more like flow gameplay and boss fights. And I forgot to mention this level's an XXL demon. It's like 3 minutes and 40 seconds if I remember correctly. I'm glad I already know about this entry, because I feel like if I didn't already know about it, this would be pretty hard to research. But yeah, so the RNG at the end of Limbo isn't necessarily perfect, leading to different keys having slightly different odds than the rest, and the red key has the lowest odds of being the correct one out of all of them. And I don't think anyone has actually beaten the level with the red key. Luckily, I already have a video where I explain this, so I don't really have to research this at all. But yeah, so there are two main people racing to be the verifier of Tartarus, that being Dolphy and Molesy. and Dolphy ended up beating level before him after he died at like 96 or 97 or something. But due to hacking accusations aimed at Dolphy, his version would get unrated, and after Molesy beat it, his version would get rated. But eventually all this would get cleared up, and then Dolphy's version would get rated. The main evidence that Dolphy hacked was that he pretty much came out of nowhere and beat it relatively fast. And also, someone said that his clicks sounded sped up, which is kind of flawed considering the fact that sounds of clicks matter. Like, okay, there's a lot of things that can make that kind of thing fluctuate. For example, like the surface that the mouse is being clicked on. Dolorem Eterna used to be the hardest theoretically possible level in the game. It is 8 hours long, and the entire 8 hours is just 600,000 FPS frame perfect wave span the entire time. And interestingly enough, this gap is actually perfect to the hitbox of the wave, and in order to make it that precise, you actually have to use hacks, meaning that gap is actually impossible to make in the vanilla game. I find it funny that FNMO4 has an 8-hour showcase of the whole level. Tower is a level said to be theoretically harder than Dolorem Eterna. It requires 23 million FPS and this number of clicks in about a second in order to pass. And according to FNMO4, trying to run this level puts him at about 1 FPS, and in order to showcase it without no clip, it would take millions of years. Due to that, in order to record the showcase, I'm assuming what he did was he just turned on noteclip and then just held down his mouse button and then beat the level that way, recorded it, and then uploaded it to YouTube as the showcase due to him, not being able to really bot it. Sari is a massive rabbit hole in Geometry Dash, so if you want to learn more about him, then I'd recommend this video by Ladian GD. So yeah, if you don't want to watch that, I'll do my best to try to summarize him right now. But Sari is a really old player. He's a South Korean player who played about 5 years ago and claimed to beat levels like the Hell Zone, back like before they were even like considered possible. And there wasn't really technically any proof that he hacked, but there wasn't really any proof that he didn't hack. So people still debate to this day on whether or not he was a hacker. If he wasn't a hacker, then that would make him one of the best. That would make him not even one of the best, the best player of his time. But let's all be honest, he was just making up dumb excuses for why he didn't record his major completions, such as like the Hell Zone one. So yeah, it's safe to say that he was a hacker, but still, it's an interesting story, and I still recommend checking out that video. The way I would describe him is like the Element 111 RG of players, because of just how mysterious he is, and how to this day we still barely know anything about him. Misanthrope is a like 6-minute level that has parts made for it by like every big player you can think of. It's really old and has parts made for it by Krazen, Riot, Nepesta, and yeah, it was really hard, and to this day is still top 1 and probably won't be verified for a long time. The best progress we really have on the level is Trick, who has 33%, and Big Mac GD, who has like 44 to 95, and currently it's going under a decoration process because it stayed a layout for years and years. And yeah, unfortunately it seems like it's just going to turn into a generic hell level, so yeah, that's kind of sad. This level has been in the works for a while, and I won't expect it to be verified for like at least a year or 2. So while Bo was trying to verify VFC, which is currently number 1 on the challenge list, he got such an accurate no-clip run on the level that he decided to just pass it off as legit, despite knowing that it wasn't. But the reason this wasn't the reason this wasn't caught for a while was because the level is so dark that the no clip is pretty much unnoticeable. But we all know it eventually got verified by Yosarian years later. Player ID is a secret stat that you can't see without mods, that basically it's like the same thing as the level ID and the song ID, except it's for players. For example, the real Darnock has an ID of 20, meaning he was the 20th person to make an account for the game. Xander ended up confessing to hacking Zodiac shortly after verifying it, claiming that the level just became too much for him, so yeah, he just hacked it. This was kind of concerning because no one could really tell how he hacked it, like there weren't really any signs. So yeah, that was kind of worrying, and this ended up making technical the actual verifier. I kept this entry real short because we talked about this when I talked about Zodiac in like the second tier. Everplay was the platform that most people used back in the day, specifically mobile players, to upload their gameplay, and it was actually integrated into Geometry Dash itself. That's why in some older completion videos, whenever they get on the level complete screen, you'll see a little button that lets you view the recording, and ended up getting shut down because apparently it's the number of people who were actually using it like significantly declined, so it was pretty much forced to shut down. So I already covered this when we talked about Michigan, but yeah, so due to that, I'm just going to take this moment to say, rest in peace. Okay, so I don't know if this is exactly what he was referring to, but the best thing I could find was this post by Chaotic Jumper on the Geometry Dash forums that claims that he found a song called Hype that doesn't have an author and has some other weird stuff about it. Noctafly is a hacker who admitted to using cuts and semi-autos in his completions, and the reason people particularly dislike him is because of how he treated the whole situation. That's because instead of just actually owning up to everything right away, what he did was he prolonged his exposal as long as possible, and it took him so long to confess, and it just annoyed everyone with how long it took, and it wasn't really good for anyone. And he's not like Andromeda, he didn't make a comeback or anything, so yeah, he had nothing but a negative influence on the game. So in God Eater, which is the original version of Astral Divinity, at around 20% at the build up to the drop, there's a secret way, which just by eyeballing it, I can't really tell how you get the secret way, but this was a pretty big issue due to the fact if you were able to get this far into God Eater, then you'd pretty much be able to get a free Extreme Demon because of this. The TPL, or the Technically Possibles Levels list, is a list ranking technically possible impossible levels. So the main thing that can get a level on this list is like the thing that makes it technically possible but doesn't put it on the impossible levels list or the silent levels list, is it requiring a really huge like FPS value, which isn't actually possible to get using like normal FPS bypass or something, such as Tower, which we talked about earlier, requiring 23 trillion FPS. The hardest level on this list currently is called Transfinite Void, which requires, holy crap, what number even is this? So this is the number of clicks and FPS the level requires, and I don't even know what the heck number this is. Like, what's that? Like, that's a weird looking W. The PPL list, or the physically possible levels list, is like the theoretically possible levels list, except minus the like 23 gajillion FPS value, and there are levels that are actually like technically, you know, playable. And right now the top one on that list is PPLLL Life. Neptune, who is a very popular player and creator, who's also responsible for the very well-known V2 series, where he takes the main RobTop levels and buffs them, pretty much, you know, that's why it's called V2, you know, version 2. And yeah, it turns out he was a cheater from like 8 years ago, and he was caught by using cuts. And you can see this blatantly in his video of Deadly Clubstep, where in the middle of a transition, a saw goes from spinning one way, and then a cut happens, and it starts spinning the other way, which is proof that he was cheating, because back then, saws randomly spun in different directions every attempt, meaning that, yeah, this is pretty much proof that a cut happened. There's this really old and unknown glitch that happens. It appears to be caused by going from a ball and falling into either a ship or a UFO portal, causing it to do this really weird and goofy looking animation. And I can't really tell why this is, and it doesn't really make much sense. This was a trend that involved taking a well-known level and then nerfing it to where it looked like it was, you know, level 1. And these levels used to get rated, like they don't really do anymore. But an example of these were like if 9 Circles was level 1 and if Cataclysm was level 1, which I actually remember my experience with because I played it back when I was, you know, garbage at the game. But yeah, these are pretty good at giving you, I mean, decent at giving you the experience of playing the actual level. Except if you want to do that, just play like the crappy version, because then you'll actually be playing the real gameplay, just nerfed. Lucky Draw is a level inspired by the Super Mario Maker level by the same name that you have a 1 in 7 million chance of beating. Now, the way this level works is that you'll be a dual wave, and there will be different, there will be shake triggers set up in front of walls, and it will have a chance to either shake down or up. And if it shakes like up or something, then you'll be able to like clip under the wall. And basically, this has to happen multiple times in a row until eventually there's one final wall and you beat it. So yeah, with all these odds combined and multiplied together, you have a 1 in 7 billion chance, million chance of beating the level. Serpent's Wrath is a pretty cool medium demon, but the thing that's truly special about it is its coins. Now, in order to get all the coins for this level, you have to hit a certain trigger. And hitting this trigger makes the level go from a medium demon all the way up to like an extreme demon with a randomized boss fight. As a matter of fact, this level is actually #1 on the hardest coins list, which, yes, that's a thing. And honestly, I find it pretty intriguing. Durami got his channel hacked and had his profile picture changed, and his username changed to Justin's Son, and that's about all I could find on it. He also had some random videos uploaded to it, but yeah, other than that, I couldn't really find much more data on it, so we're gonna have to make do with that. Essentially, this was a creator who got a lot of hate for quote-unquote creator point grinding. No, I was not about to say CP grinding. Yeah, he got a lot of hate for that, but pretty much the reason he was getting hate was just from jealous people who wanted creator points or CP. But like, why would you want creator points? You're gonna get that ugly UFO anyway, this is literally like the 3rd time I've made fun of that UFO, by the way. I'm telling you, I'm gonna find a way to make fun of that UFO in every part. So yeah, a long time ago, like back when like the forums were still being used, a user by the name of Arco would make a post on Geometry Dash World, no, not the game, the website, asking for people to help him make like a series of levels based off the elements of the periodic table. So basically there would be one level for each element. So yeah, the naming scheme would go like this. It would say element to signify that it was part of the series, then it would have the atomic number, and then it would have like the letter or the abbreviation. So for example, the first level would be element 1H. So if you already did the math, or you already know the periodic table, that would mean that he would have to make 118 unique levels. But in fact, that's not what he did. He actually got a bunch of other people to make the levels for him. So like each creator in the series would make a certain amount of levels, and each like 10 of these levels would be put in their own series. Like for example, like 1 to 10 would be element series 1, all the way up to 111 to 118, and it was said that these levels would get harder and harder as they went on. Though this project was never finished, and most of the levels that were in this series are either lost or never ended up being made. PG1004 was a player who allegedly quit the game after expressing his anger with Codex and RobTop. From what I was able to find, his main motive, like the reason he got so angry, was because Codex got his level rated and allegedly featured despite having like almost no deco, when his levels, who he put a lot of effort in, didn't get rated. So yeah, he felt pretty salty about this, and he allegedly quit the game. So 6 years ago, Riot got his channel hacked, and instead of like posting a bunch of stuff on his channel, this led to him basically just getting his channel deleted. And after 2 years, YouTube was able to revive his channel with all his old videos on it, including the bloodbath verification. And since this has a lot to do and is directly linked to an entry that we have later, either in this tier or the next tier, I'm just going to explain it now. But due to this, a hashtag was started called Free Riot, trying to just, protest to have him get his channel back. So Geometry Dash is actually really popular in Korea for some reason, but yeah, due to this, there's a whole Korean version of the Geometry Dash forums that we all know. I'll put some screenshots on screen right now, but yeah, a lot of people would be surprised to know how popular Geometry Dash really is in Korea. Ivav was a player who claimed to beat like some of the hardest levels such as Slaughterhouse and Firework, but eventually an exposal video would be made on him that pretty much proved he was a hacker who used some sort of bot. But he was actually pretty skilled, and pretty much all the levels that he claimed to have beaten, he still had significant progress on him, such as Plasma Pulse Finale, which he had he had like 96 on, and Slaughterhouse and Firework, which he had progress in the 60s on. It's just a shame he wasn't skilled enough to be bothered to actually finish the levels. Perhaps maybe he'll be like Andromeda and he'll make a comeback. Let's be honest, no he won't. Okay, so I couldn't find a specific incident on this, but according to a Reddit post I found, Lisp was always in some Discord servers that just led to him being in the wrong place at the wrong time, and he ended up just like often getting accused of stuff that he didn't do. So I'm assuming this Twitter drama that the Iceberg is talking about is just one of those situations, and like most of these dramas, it probably has something to do with racism or something like that. So this is referring to an exposal video that I don't know how to pronounce that. He made an exposal video on Yossarian, who is the verifier of VSC, and in this video he claimed that the clicks in Yossarian's verification videos were unsynced, And yeah, this video was not very well done and very flawed. And yeah, if you're wondering, no, Yosarian is not a hacker. This is referring to a movement started by the community after Nepesta got his channel demonetized for, quote, reusing content. And I won't go too deep into this because it has something to do with an entry that we're going to talk about later. So yeah, stay tuned. And by stay tuned, I don't mean we're going to talk about it in this part. It's probably going to be in like the next 1 or 2 parts. So this may sound confusing, but this actually doesn't really have anything to do with Geometry Dash. There is a programming tool called GD that stands for Giga Device, and I was able to find one thing on it, and that was an article made by Symmetry Electronics. Another thing I was able to find was a picture of this adapter that was developed by them as well. I don't know if this still works, but there is a way to make like a dash inside of a level name, which normally wouldn't be possible because like only letters and numbers are allowed to be put inside of level names. But this exploit was done by like typing in a cuss word or something, or just one of the censored words, and then I think it's just after you exit out after typing it, it will automatically replace the word with a dash. And yeah, you will be able to successfully have a hyphen in your level name, which normally wouldn't be possible, so that's pretty cool. Anaban is a hacker who I won't get into a lot of the specifics for the sake of the entry, but a couple of the things I remember him doing was mass uploading 70,000 levels at once, and there's a clip of I think Cyrillic or Cyclic going onto the recent tab and just like witnessing this go down. There was also another incident where he hacked Bloodbath and put a start position at the end of the level that led to a goodbye message from him. Now, he didn't really like worry the community all too much like a certain other group who will be talked about later. He was more of an annoyance to the community, honestly, and Anaban was also falsely given credit for a lot of things that other certain hacking group did. Mohammed Ja Kaleem Al Abdullah was a troll account that made a bunch of bots to go and spam comment sections. That was basically just self-advertising to go to his YouTube channel, and it's really weird when you actually go to his channel. So yeah, I'll show a video right now.
What's poppin', Rop Top Junkin? Your main Giga Chat J-Dog here. You know, this is the 3rd time I'm talking to you, Geometry Dash druggies. And honestly, I've given up. You guys clearly don't listen to me, which is kinda odd considering I'm literally the most beloved man in history. No.
There's tons of other random stuff on his YouTube channel, and honestly it gives me like ARG vibes, and I feel like there's a rabbit hole to be gone down here, but I just don't know where to start. So Memory Mastermind is a game made by RobTop before Geometry Dash, and I don't really know how to explain the gameplay, so yeah, I'll just have gameplay on screen. But this game didn't really get a lot of attention, and yeah, moving on. Back in the olden days of Geometry Dash, you used to be able to put spaces in your name, which you can't do anymore. I'll put some examples on screen, but yeah, you could tell if an account is old based off if they have a space in their name, because if they do, then they've been around a long time. There's also an interesting exploit with this feature that allowed people to impersonate people, because for some reason spaces were counted as like whole characters. So people would be able to impersonate people like Riot just by making their username Riot with a space at the end, because then the whole like bot or whatever that checks if the username is identical to another will count it as unique because it has a space at the end, but from an outside perspective it will appear as identical. And I believe people also did this with Anaban. So this entry is kind of vague, but what I believe it's referring to is the fact that for years of Jump Dash's history, there was only one demon difficulty, and that was the hard demon. So yeah, in older videos, you could see that Bloodbath was a hard demon. Also, whenever a level is rated demon, it defaults to like a hard demon. So until, you know, it's voted upon to be an extreme demon or an insane demon. And there's this funny screenshot I found that if I can find it again, I'll put it on screen. But this person made a tweet after Tidal Wave got raided asking why it was a hard demon. So yeah, this is referring to a glitch that happened to Bloodbath. What happened was somehow a glitch happened that led to Bloodbath getting re-rated to an insane, but still keeping its 10-star difficulty somehow. Yeah, I couldn't find any sources that explained how this happened. The only video I could find talking about it was a video by Aza FTW, where he updated the level and it appeared to have an insane difficulty. So, back before the auto difficulty existed, the real 1-star was easy levels. So, whenever the auto difficulty got added, replacing that, a lot of easy levels turn into autos, leading to things like this happening. This level is rated auto, and it has a lot of dislikes due to it, you know, actually having gameplay, even though it's supposed to be auto. So, I believe this is referring to a glitch that happened where a level would appear to have the NA difficulty, but would still have the featured glow around it. And the reason this happened was probably due to RobTop featuring the level, but forgetting to rate it. Boomlings Matchup is a spin-off of the original Boomlings, and I can't really tell what you're supposed to be doing just by looking at the gameplay. It looks really confusing to me. Torture Chamber is a really old challenge level that would be buffed every single time it was verified by UFWM. And honestly, the oldest version looks pretty easy. Like it looks like something I could even be on, even on mobile. But I think the real reason this is on the Iceberg is because of its name. Its name is Torture Chamber, and due to a pretty much level purge, where RobTop added a bunch of restrictions where certain words couldn't be used in names of levels, Torture Chamber ended up getting removed from the servers because of its name. It ended up getting re-uploaded to his account by the name of Happy Chamber though, which is kind of funny. Oh my gosh! Exasperation is a really well-known layout of an impossible level that has a really unique song, and yeah, it's pretty much ear cancer actually. But I'm not gonna play a clip of it because I'm trying not to get copyright claims on this video like I did with the last part. But it does some really cool things, such as adding question marks on the jump orb and the portals, which in my opinion adds a lot to the atmosphere. The level is also like 6 minutes long of like nearly impossible gameplay, but due to the gameplay not being straight up impossible, people have asked the question if whether or not this level might actually be possible. The 2.2 song quiz is referring to this tweet put up by RobTop meant to hint people towards what the song was going to be in the next main level. So here's the image, and yeah, this may look confusing, but here, I'll run it down for you. So the first image is a picture of a bucket with the Swedish flag on it, and bucket in Swedish is hink. Then you have the words I know, which the abbreviation of that is IK, so you put that in front of hink, you get hinkik. And then after that is what appears to be a picture of Saturn, followed by a bunch of weird symbols. But if you put those symbols on top of that other picture, then you'll get the Internet Explorer's logo. So yeah, if you put 2 and 2 together, this means that the song that was going to be used in Explorers was, Explorers by Hink Ick. This is referring to a debate in the community whether or not Back on Track is easier than Stereo Madness. In my opinion, I think Back on Track is easier due to the absence of triple spikes, and I don't necessarily know what the common consensus is on this. EPEP 409 is leveled by EPEP 409 that had a secret way in it, and I guess no one likes it because I found 4 separate videos of people making fun of it. 2 of them just have people calling it the worst level in the game. The other 2 have people sarcastically calling it the best level in the game. Nubis was a Russian hacker who's mostly known for hacking Sakup in Hell, and after getting exposed, he deleted his channel. And there's also a Minecraft YouTuber who just posts clickbait content with the name Nubis. After Colorado was verified and put on the demons list and raided, Technical expressed on a live stream how he didn't think that Colorado should have been raided. So this led to all of Technical's fans going and literally sending death threats to the verifier, which led to it getting unrated only 9 hours after it was released and taken off the demons list. Although, after all this cleared up, Colorado would get raided and placed on the demons list again. So basically, Nepesto was playing top 50 challenges for one of his videos, and one of the levels he played was called Vane by Lime. And Lime found out about this, and due to him not liking Nepesto for some reason, him and a lot of his friends, he decided to update Vane by buffing it and then adding a racial slur at the end, and the motive was to get him banned. Because if he showed that racial slur at the end, then, he probably would get banned. And Nepesto got word of this and ended up deleting the racial slur and replaced it with your mom. And this angered Lime a lot, so he got his friends to send him hundreds of death threats. That's honestly just a real piece of crap move, and overall, just be a better person. I'm not gonna lie, this one has me stumped. I cannot figure out what this is referring to. The only thing I could find was a 2-subscriber YouTube channel that appears to have maybe a couple archives of a live stream or 2 of his, but that's about it. This seems pretty random to have on the Iceberg, but the CPS rule is referring to one of the rules on the impossible levels list, that spam in the levels can only go up to 16 clicks per second. 15, because that's about the max a human can do by jittering. And I think the reason this is to stop levels from just spamming, spam throughout the whole thing. So, before the version of Sonic Wave that we have today, there was this older version that was light blue and actually had UFO gameplay in it. It's also to note that this version was significantly easier than modern Sonic Wave. I don't know if it's still in effect, but at least back in the day, there used to be a feature that stopped levels under 30 seconds from getting rated higher than an easy, or a 2-star in other words. And yeah, this is pretty much useless nowadays, because nowadays levels shorter than 30 seconds don't get rated, period. Actually, levels under a minute and over 30 seconds barely get rated, as it is. There are some rated levels in Geometry Dash that are actually impossible, and the reason to this is because there have been updates in the game where the physics have changed ever so slightly, and these physics changes have led to certain levels becoming impossible, such as the first 1 or 2 clicks in Red World that used to be impossible. And there was this thing that happened recently, it was relatively controversial, where RobTop and other moderators went through and fixed impossible rated levels. And I don't know why this is controversial, other than the fact that people were split on if he should be able to go in and edit levels like that. So, Paco is a biological male who goes by she, her pronouns. So, yeah, that will make sense in a second why I mentioned that. But she made a post on Twitter linking a website about men's mental health. And the reason this was controversial was because of what she said. The caption to the post was, "I will combat the spreading of misinfo." And she did that along with making jokes about suicide and stuff. And if you ask me, that kind of sounds like friendly fire. This is a really vague entry, so I'm just going to assume what it means. So I'm going to talk about level request streams. So sometimes when people on streams do level requests, which is where people in the chat will submit level IDs and then have the streamer go and play them. And most of the people who do these are moderators, so they do this to potentially have their levels sent to RobTop. And what some people will do to troll the streamer is send them perhaps a not safe for work level to get them banned or something. So yeah, don't do this. It's real scummy. This seems like a kind of weird entry, except it's a little known fact that the popular YouTuber Nexus is actually Mexican. There was an older version of Sonic Wave Infinity with way different decoration, and I believe it was actually significantly harder. And the old decoration of the older version was turned into the legacy mode of actual modern Sonic Wave Infinity. Diabolic Clubstep is a really old impossible level that got redecorated due to having, quite frankly, bad decoration. And yeah, it was kind of like a Tartarus situation where there's an open verification and a lot of people started making progress on it until eventually it was verified. I can't really explain the whole story in this video, but GMD Blue has a really good video on it, so yeah, go check that out. So, Hard Machine by Comp is an old impossible level that started from Comp wanting to dethrone ICDX or Ice Carbon Diablo X. And the funny thing about Hard Machine and him wanting to dethrone ICDX is the fact that, well, yeah, he kind of went a little overboard because this is way harder than ICDX. To put in perspective, ICDX isn't even an Extreme Demon anymore, and Hard Machine currently on the list is around the difficulty of Tartarus, so. Super Rocket X300 is a version of Electrodynamics remade in 2016 that has a secret way right at the beginning that allows you to just, skip the whole level. All you have to do to get the secret way is just fall off a platform and it lets you skip the whole level. Now the level is unrated, but you can find copies of it still on the servers. This is a joke nickname given to Sakup in Hell for some reason by the Russian community. Mopan is a Jump Dash YouTuber with 100,000 subscribers, and yeah, he made a video. It was a completion video of Save As, which we talked about in part 2, I believe. And yeah, so the main controversy starts because in the video he pretty much labeled it as a glitch level, when remember it's supposed to be some artistic look at Alzheimer's disease. And the way he did this was he basically just made the title just Geometry Dash, but it's all like weird and glitchy and stuff, and people on Twitter got really offended by this for reasons, because Twitter bad. And some dude made a rant about it, and it's not really that big of a deal. All that Mopan did was just kind of miss the point of the level. I don't really blame him for thinking it was a glitch level. If I'm being honest, I probably would have too if I didn't know what it was truly about. So, I wasn't able to get on the actual website itself because all it did was just give me an error message. So, I'm just assuming it's another one of those Jump Dash rip-off websites, kind of like Scratch. We talked about dislike bots earlier, so I'm not going to explain them. I was able to find the level, but I wasn't able to find any videos about it or anything, and the actual level itself has like 4,000 likes, so... Brandon Garusu is a combination of Brandon Larkin and Yadagarasu. It's also a level called Brandon Garusu, and it also has a song called Brandon Garusu, and it's basically Brandon Larkin just yelling Yadagarasu, sounding like he's about to throw up. The level itself is like just a crappy remake of Yadagarasu. In a video that you can find the entirety of on YouTube, Titan Channel played Stereo Madness for 10 hours straight and only died about 7 times. I don't know what gets in your head and makes you decide to play Stereo Madness for 10 hours. Why would you even do that? Desert Bus, which we talked about earlier, it's the 8-hour level that someone beat, has Easter eggs throughout like the whole thing. For example, at exactly 10%, it reminds you that you're only 10% of the way done with the whole level, even though you've been playing for like 45 minutes. I'm not going to go through all the Easter eggs because there's simply too many. Clubstep Butt is a really weird entry. So basically it's this user in Geometry Dash who dedicated his entire account to making different versions of Clubstep. There are 62 total levels on his account. Every single one of them are different versions of Clubstep. For example, you have Clubstep But Swag, which is where your icon has sunglasses on it for the very beginning of the level. You also have Clubstep But Slaughterhouse, where it's Slaughterhouse but in the decoration style of, you know, Clubstep. So yeah, it's a really weird, I don't know if it's a rabbit hole more than it is just some goofy little account. Nick XD is a hacker who no one really took seriously. He claimed to have progress on Silent Circles and Death Corridor, and it was pretty obvious he was a hacker. So instead of like people actually making proper exposal videos on him, people just made fun of him. For example, in his videos, he would show way too many attempts before his completion to try to sell the idea that he was legit. Also, in the one video where he used the mouse cam, it was pretty much invisible. So when people made fun of him or parodied him, they would just add a black box in the bottom corner and just say mouse cam under it. If you make 2-player gameplay and try making them the same gravity in the editor, it won't work, but in the actual level it will, which is one of the examples of things working differently in the editor versus like the actual level. And I'm unaware if this still works. I swear, the coding in this game is just so weird, and I don't know what to refer to it as. I don't know if I should say it's good, bad, or it's just straight up baffling. So, the beginning of the extension in Bloodlust is actually reused and redecorated from old Yadagarasu. Specifically, it's the part by Manix. You could tell because it has the exact same weird, like, slope gameplay. And this is the end of Tier 6. This one is the longest one so far, and it's only going to get worse because the next tier we get to go over is Tier 7. This is a level by Mindcap, and it's probably one of my favorite horror levels in the entire game because the idea of it is, on first viewing, it looks like just a normal generic like collab level, as you know it's called, but around like halfway through the level it switches up and immediately like you realize what this is. It like the initial shock of this switch up happening just like hits real hard, and yeah, it's honestly really scary. I believe there's a couple of jump scares in it, and overall it was really well made. It was supposed to be an April Fool's joke, and I don't know if it was actually released on April 1st, because the earliest like showcase I could find was April 5th. And a little extra thing I'd like to add is that the first like jump scare, the first time it switches up from a generic level to what it's actually supposed to be, there's actually some original versions, including this dude named Herbert. And something else about that first scare, the like loud blaring noise in the background, is actually a sound effect called black microwave ear rape. So after a sequel came out for Theory of Everything, that being Theory of Everything 2, which is one of the main demons, people were rumoring that there would be a third one, and this was a possibility due to the fact that DJ Nate actually has a song called Theory of Everything 3, but I'm pretty sure Rob Top has came out and said that there won't be a Theory of Everything 3. There was, I believe, a creation by Mannix called Theory of Everything 3 just to kind of like make this a reality, but nothing official. So, I thought this was referring to a specific level, but it's referring to basically the same thing as the other entry. DJ Nate has a song called Electrodynamics 2. So, due to the same, like a similar thing happening with Theory of Everything 2, because DJ Nate had a song called Theory of Everything 2, and a sequel was made to Theory of Everything about it, people were thinking that maybe, possibly, kind of, sort of, maybe, that there would be a sequel to Electrodynamics, which, honestly, I'm, like, all for, because that'd probably be fire. So, this is a really weird rabbit hole, and I don't really know how to approach it, so I'll just start off. So, Exotic was a Korean player. He was a star grinder, and he was usually high up on the leaderboards. He had like 20,000 stars, and like one day his account just like vanished, and there were some hacking accusations against him, so people thought so the main theories were he either got banned or the pressure from the accusations was just too much, so he deleted his account. So yeah, that's that. And then all of a sudden a tweet or something, whatever social media, was made on one of his accounts claiming that he had a virus and that this would be his last day on Earth. But I don't know if it's known for certain, but people think that this was an account impersonating him after his disappearance. Another account also popped up on Geometry Dash with his exact name and his same icons, but this account was probably also an impersonation. There was also this account that popped up after that impersonation account called Joker Hacks, which shares some weird similarities with Exotic, because first of all, there's no leaderboard position, which implies that this account was actually banned from the leaderboards, and the top post made on the account says it's showtime, which was posted pretty much like exactly after that death tweet. And to this day, like, no one knows. It's still an unsolved mystery, and the main theory is that he faked his death, but it's still very possible that he could be unfortunately dead. I'm just going to touch on this since we pretty much already talked about it when we talked about Exotic, but there were more than just that one impersonation account I talked about. There are actually a ton, because there was people trying to get attention from this whole situation because it was a big thing. I couldn't find much on this, so what I'm about to say is speculative. So, yeah. My theory is that this is probably just something people will put at the end of their levels as a joke, like a tribute to Funny Game, and the Bunny Game part is just a little joke or a nod. This was an auto level that for some reason got updated to be a 1 minute 12-second black void with 3 bronze coins at the beginning. It was updated for an unknown reason. So there's actually a limit to the number of diamonds you can have. That number is 65,535, and this has something to do with the fact that that's the 16-bit integer limit. This is a comment made on a level I couldn't find info for. I was only able to find things on this due to a comment on a post that was made where the post was asking what was like the funniest comment you've seen on a GD level, and someone claimed that they saw a comment reading, but rape isn't legal in Texas. This was a creator who posted about 1 to 2 levels every single day. These levels got featured. Every single level shared similar naming schemes, them having 3-digit numbers in them. Well, turns out this person was actually exposed for being multiple people on the same account. To be specific, it was actually 8 people. And yeah, this being a development actually makes a lot of sense. So yeah, it's kind of a weird situation. So I'm pretty sure I know what this is referring to, but I'm a little confused on why it's so far down. But there is a questionably official Sakupa & Circles remake / sequel called Recirculation, and it's awful, like just awful. This was a hashtag started to try to get RobTop to crack down on the insane amount of cheaters that were on the leaderboards due to lack of moderation, because I think at the time the only moderation was either RobTop on his own or like some like AI type thing. Battle of the Shades by Virus originally started as an easy demon that got really bad reception after Kamal uploaded a showcase. So this caused Virus to update the entire level to something completely different, to this really weird and kind of like unsettling type of level with this one part where it just spams text that says "Stop the Hate." Then in phase 3, it got updated to just like a layout that had some really hard timings, and it was just straight up an extreme demon. Phase 4 was this like a black and white extreme demon, and then phase 5 was an actual like normal like rate worthy level, and it's just really weird. Oh, and I got to explain the phase thing. I guess it's just some weird thing. I don't know if it was started by the community or him, but every time the level was updated, these updates were referred to as phases. I'm sorry, I know I did a really bad job of explaining that, but I kind of have to just keep this short. I gave you the basic details. If you want to learn more, then you can go watch a different video about it. In the early days of Geometry Dash, people were complaining that the third coin in Stereo Madness was way too hard. So in 2014, it ended up getting updated, removing a lot of the spikes and becoming overall way more easy. And the people who complain about it being really hard now should try what it was like back then. Dangerous Spikes was originally the first level of the Spike Gauntlet, but due to complaints of it being too hard, it ended up getting removed and replaced by the level Victim. Fly starts off with just a bit of straight fly, and then the song glitches out, and then this face appears, and it starts strobing really fast, which I can't show due to like epilepsy concerns, but it's pretty spooky, and people would send this to people who are doing level requests live streams to try to scare them. So there's a level called Vulgarity, and it was in the Time Gauntlet, and due to a lot of issues, the main ones being it having nothing to do with time, having really bad decoration, song, and no sync, it ended up getting removed. This was basically a level from like 1.6. It's very old, and it contained a bunch of like some of the secret coins. So basically, if you played this level, which was glitched, then you would be able to just get free like secret coin achievements and stuff. And yeah, eventually this was patched, and I think the coins that you actually got from it were removed from your account due to the level being fixed. But yeah, it's a piece of John Shadows history that few people remember. As for how the glitch was performed, I honestly couldn't find much on that. They probably just hacked it. This is referring to the remakes of Deadlocked in the 1.9 private servers, and it's actually really impressive the lengths that they will go to remake a level with 2.0 features in 1.9. For example, they use some weird techniques to recreate the teleport portal without actually using the teleport portal. They also did the whole thing without move triggers, and they used like pixel art or whatever to recreate like the Deadlocked monsters. Ocular Miracle was an almost 6-minute long level with like 800,000 objects verified by technical, and the reason this is on the Iceberg is because whenever it was released, there was a lot of controversy because this level was so object heavy, and the game is so badly optimized that playing this level would glitch out your game like after leaving it, leaving some people with like, I'll show screenshots, but there are examples of people having like a lot of the textures in their games being blacked out, and also even losing save data, which obviously is a big deal. So yeah, that led to Ocular Miracle being unrated, and now it's actually 3 levels, so that way you can actually play them. Reverie, Faith, and Diligence, but the original like full Ocular Miracle is still on the servers and like actually available to play. Optical Fox is a creator that would get free creator points from pretty much stealing levels, and all they would do is they would take the level and change up some colors and upload it, and it would get rated. And you see, the thing with this is like the thing that's particularly bad is there's one level on his account called, like, it's like a Stereo Madness remake, and the original is actually unrated, even though his stolen version did get rated, despite his stolen version not only being stolen, but also just looking worse in general. And this isn't even the only example of this happening on his whole account. Natural Disaster is an impossible level that ended up getting nerfed and verified by Helix, but not without some controversy. Shortly after, the level got unrated due to some stolen assets from Kuluk, and I believe other creators. I don't think this was the only example in the level, but the little lightning effects that you see were actually stolen from other Kuluk levels. The level got redecorated and will hopefully be verified and rated very soon. Andromeda is a former hacker who confessed to hacking before he was even exposed, and he went on to actually re-beat all the stuff he hacked, and nowadays he's actually like well respected in the community for this. So yeah, be more like Andromeda minus the hacking part. Stereo Demon S is an insane demon that has an unnerfed version, which is extremely hard to say the least. It was verified by KPG Dylan, and to this day he's the only one to do so. Probably not because of how hard the level is, probably because it's just like stupidly unfun. Like there's a part in the level that has like pretty much like fixed hitbox straight fly in it, so yeah, no wonder why people don't really want to play this level. So back in like 2018, N Level was found out to be a hacker, And the thing that makes this interesting is the fact that his hacking method was literally undetectable. Undetectable. No one could figure out he was hacking without having internal knowledge. The hacking method was very complicated. Like, it had certain requirements that go as deep as having to have the music set at like a exact percentage. And I think nowadays this hacking method is actually detectable, because if it wasn't, then this community and like the demons list and that kind of thing would be in like shambles. And now the demons list has even more requirements, so that way you can't actually do this method. To this day, there's still little known about this, and just this on its own, not even like end level himself, but just the hacking method, is a huge rabbit hole on its very own. In the files of the game, you can find an image of Scratch that remains unused for the entire game, and no one really has an idea for what this could have been like used for. And some people speculate that it could be used in like 2.2 or something, but 2.2 has came out, and yeah, still it's not used in the actual game. Usually in Jobstash, you're not able to upload two different levels by the same name, and if you do, it just updates the other one, which makes it kind of weird that the creator Zelink has 3 levels on his account called Rainbow Orange. 2 of them are just the same level with a different song, and the third one is a remake, and to this day it's unknown to how Zelink was able to do this. This referring to a level dedicated to the creator Skitten, which, before I explain the level, I'll explain the story behind Skitten. So, he was a very respected creator who ended up getting hacked, but shortly after, all his levels were restored, but eventually he got hacked again by Anaban. And after this, a level called Save Skitten was released that was very, like, okay, so I don't know how to feel about the level. It's very like dramatic sounding, and the vibe to it is just really weird. It has like a picture of a wilting flower in black and white throughout the whole level, while text appears. And the thing is, it's not just this one level. This level was spammed everywhere. Like, it was posted over and over again on the servers. All you have to do is search up Save Skitten, and the same level will pop up over and over again with people spamming saves, like hashtag Save Skitten in the comments, and it's a weird situation. In this image that shows 2.0 concept art, you can see this weird image of what appears to be a witch along with a broomstick, and this goes on to be unused in the actual game, and I don't believe RobTop has actually commented on this matter. XXOT1XX is the YouTube account owned by Anaban. 7 years ago, he posted a video simply called I Am Anaban, where he proved he was such by logging into his account. A weird thing you can see in the video is on the side, there appears to be a Python script that just keeps generating level IDs, and presumably this is him mass uploading levels with a hack. He still posts to this day, and his modern content seems to be Guitar Hero. I'm gonna keep this short because you can watch other videos on this topic that go into way more detail than I do, but Quar was a player who seemed to be the best at the time. He claimed to beat levels like Sonic Wave, which was top 1, and yeah, at the time people thought he was the best, but an interesting development was made. Turns out he didn't actually beat these levels, but he wasn't a hacker either. He was actually multiple people on the same account. To put it shortly, much like Gerald Brown, Quar was simply a social experiment. Night Day by Neptune is a lost level that got restored, but this restoration turned out to be fake. So yeah, still to this day, this level is lost and has not been restored. So on one of Nuke Taco's live streams, Tosh Deluxe made a false $3,000 donation to assist his family who was going through financial struggles. And you might think to yourself, why would he do this? Well, it's all just because Nuke Taco insulted him, and nowadays they made like a shaky compromise. The reason to this is because Tosh Deluxe literally refuses to apologize. So the next entry is the Mindbur hacking situation, and I can't find anything on this no matter where I look. So if you guys know anything about this, can you please let me know in the comment section, because I'm struggling with this one. So from what I have gathered, Illuminati seems to have been a 4-star that was updated to be a, well, not 4-star, with 1 block gap wave spam, some really hard ball timings, and UFO spam. And it's kind of like a Xmas challenge situation where an easy level was updated to be a not easy level. Not a lot of people know this, but Dolphy used to be the verifier of Firework. He got 15% from 0 and got a run of 70 to 100 before dropping the level and giving it to Trick. Jumpy Ball is a user who made his goal to try to make it onto the top 100 leaderboards with the least amount of demons completed, and yeah, he made it onto the leaderboard with only 16 demons completed. Nowadays, if you check his account, he has 24 demons completed with 100,000 stars. That 24th demon was actually deadlocked. Rate Belangu Vortex was a movement started by this guy on Twitter that was supported by most of the Jump Dash community, and it ended up working, and it got Belangu Vortex rated after almost a year of being verified without a rate. Ice Cream was one of Cyclic's first levels. It was an extreme demon intentionally made to be bad, and when it was uploaded, it rightfully so got a ton of dislikes, but then it was deleted and uploaded again, where it got like 3,000 likes, and then it was deleted and uploaded again by Sacho after Cyclic quit the game, and that's the only reason why we still had the level, because if Sacho didn't re-upload the level after it was deleted for a second time, then likely Ice Cream would be lost media. Here Be Dragons is pretty much like a joke in the game, and one of the examples of this is back in 1.9, if you went to the Coming Soon page and then you hit the little eye in the corner, it would say something about you looking for the hidden treasure, and then it would say like, be careful, here be dragons. This is all I could really gather about the entry. I don't know if there's more to it, so moving on. Kermal was such a hated creator that there was literally a speed run where you would try to compete with others to block him as fast as possible. Yeah, that to me just sounds wild. Boy of the Cones is a player who's been in so many controversies, like I can't really mention them all. I'll just list a couple of them. So first of all, he hacked his level Catabath 7 times. He also begged RobTop to rate one of his levels. There was also a situation where he lied about being a moderator, and he's also the creator of the very controversial level Buff This, which is the level we talked about earlier, which just makes gameplay out of purely straight fly. He's not really the most liked person in the community. There was also a video made by C1997 that ranted about him, so yeah, do with that information what you will. Ultimate Destruction was a level that was going to be one of the main levels back when the game first released, but ended up getting cancelled due to copyright reasons. The only reason we know this level exists is because it was shown in the beta version of the game, and by that I mean like the video that was uploaded on Rob's channel, and the only reason we know its name is because in the very first frame of said video, it's all black, But if you take a screenshot of this and then you go into like a Photoshop software and you do some like editing magic and like increase the gamma, the exposure, and the brightness, then you'll be revealed the level selection and it will say Ultimate Destruction. On the actual Iceberg, it says Ultimate Destruction, and this actually isn't a spelling mistake, because if you look at that first frame, it actually is spelt wrong and says Ultimate Destruction. For some reason, back in the early days of the game, RobTop is kind of known for a lot of spelling mistakes. This was a mobile exclusive glitch, which would turn your icons completely white when you went through a dash orb in practice mode. I believe this bug was fixed, but back then, the glitch would only be fixed by going through another dash orb. Crazyman50 is the original name of Kermal, and the reason he changed it was because he thought it was too childish. In my opinion, I don't think it's that bad, but I still prefer his new name of Kermal. Woodkid was a masterpiece of a level, but due to pure incompetence by the host of the level, this stuff included copyright issues with the song used in the level and stolen art from other levels. The level ended up getting cancelled, which is just purely unfortunate, and the level got updated to just be auto. When this project was actually a reality and had potential, this was like really big in the community. Like, this was the main level everyone was looking forward to, because quite frankly, it was a masterpiece, and it's just really sad that due to stupid, dumb issues made by the host, that this couldn't come out. Zobro suffered from a condition called tenosynovitis, which is a condition that infects the hands, wrists, and feet, which led to Zobros having a lot of finger pains, which led to him playing the game way less, and it's one of the main reasons that he quit. Originally, if you paused in the editor and selected help, you would be taken to a website that was a guide to the editor by RobTop, but eventually this got outdated, so we hired Viperin and a couple other people to make a whole guide to it, and by selecting this button, it will automatically download a PDF, though this guide has now been rendered outdated with the release of 2.2. Kitty is the first ever weekly demon. It's rated hard demon, and people ended up complaining that it was too hard, so this led to RobTop never making another hard demon as the weekly ever again, other than, you know, like April Fool's jokes with Bloodlust and Congregation. This was one of the main memes started from the Mystic Monster, which was on like tier 2, and I can't really show many images for this because it's pretty NSFW. I'll show one on screen, and this is one of the more safer work images, and the whole point of the meme is just turning the Mystic Monster into a girl and then making a bunch of inappropriate art out of it. This is one of the weirder entries on the Iceberg, and one of the weirdest ones we have had yet. So death levels are levels that will depict someone killing another person, and by that I mean it'll like have their icons to represent them as people with their usernames attached under them. And for one of the ones I found as an example, it has this dude just shooting down another user with like a Tommy gun or something. The vibe of these levels are just really eerie because they come off as actual death threats. These are really obscure, and there's only a few on the servers right now. So yeah, I don't know what to make of this. So the actual ID 70 million got deleted. So basically what happened was a bunch of levels were submitted and then put onto like a little wheel, and then the wheel was spun, and whichever level it got landed on would be given the ID 70 million, and the level you're looking at in the background is the level that won, and it's strange. The original ID 70 million was just the level called Unknown with Stereo Madness as the song, asking for 1,000 likes because it was the creator's birthday, and then simply asking to sub to the dude's channel. And the reason it got automatically deleted was because there's a feature in the game that deletes levels that have a certain like number of objects, like below 100 or something. This is the original name of Diabolic Clubstep, and it was probably changed because the creators didn't like the name all too much. The crash trigger is a trigger made by putting impossibly large values into triggers, which when hit will just straight up crash the game. And this has been used to troll a lot of people, mostly level request streamers, by giving them levels that have crash triggers hidden inside to just crash their game. These are really controversial and could be really bad for the game, because getting a game crash could lead to you like losing a lot of save data. This is a very obscure and stupid speedrun category where you have to put yourself through the absolute agony of playing the map pack levels. Even worse, playing all of them and trying to beat all of them in one sitting. The current world record is a 25:43 by AJ213. River Siver was a creator and YouTuber who's mostly known for his My Thoughts On series, where he'd give his thoughts on things in the community. And the actual controversy comes in with his blatant racism. There's screenshots of him saying the N-word, and he made a bunch of racist remarks in one of his videos. And in his My Thoughts On Bloodlust videos, he mocked the death of George Floyd. So, yeah. And his defense for all this was the fact that he had depression at the time, which, no, dude, that's not an excuse. That is not an excuse to be racist and say the N-word, okay? Wacropolix is a forgotten top 1 by Blast, and the reason it was forgotten was because when it was verified, no one talked about it, and it would just go unrated. So it just sits there collecting dust, and no one talks about it. A part of me is glad it never got rated, because honestly, it'd be a pretty bland top 1. Most of it is half speed, and it's just grayscale the whole time, so yeah. This is a very goofy entry, and I'm pretty sure it's just referring to videos you can find of people burping like at the very beginning of their completion attempt. And I think the most notable example of this is Cursed burping at the beginning of his verification attempt of Abyss of Darkness. This is referring to the fact that every day the absolute absurdity of the stuff in the daily chat becomes lost media. This is due to the fact that every time a new daily level happens, you can't go back to the original comments, even if you go to the safe. Because due to the feature that daily levels are given a new ID, so there's different like comments on them, you can't actually like go to the original because the ones in the safe have the ID of the actual level, so you're just looking at the comments on the actual level. Reanimation is an old medium demon, and the original song it used was the original version of the song Reanimation by Warwick, and that song got banned, so Reanimation currently uses the Imaginary remix. I think that's how you pronounce his name, it's spelt weird. The actual song is really good, but the remix isn't that bad either. Funny Game is one of the most popular creators in the entirety of Geometry Dash, and in 2.0, due to getting bored with the game, he gave away his account. He gave it away to his friend GeoGame, who is a fellow creator, so there are still levels being uploaded onto his account. This entry is funny. Okay, so basically there was this channel called GD Water, and he uploaded a video 8 years ago where it showed him going into a YouTube comment section of a Geometry Dash video or something. And he just went to every single comment and just replied to it saying we're all pine cones. Then he switched tabs and then went through a bunch of GD chat rooms, like over and over and over again, like spamming the message "we're all pine cones," while a text-to-speech voice in the background just said "we're all pine cones, we're all pine cones." And this started something where in the community where people would just start spamming "we're all pine cones." There was also this level made about the trend or whatever, and it's just so funny. Like, oh my gosh.
We're all pine cones. 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 We're all pine cones.
So I believe this is referring to the fact that in comment sections, RobTop cannot have a deleted comment. If you get a comment on your level by RobTop, which is like a 1 in a million chance, it is impossible to delete. This makes sense considering the dude is the all-powerful creator, and deleting a comment of his on one of your videos, levels, is just straight up disrespectful. This is a glitch that happens when you resize your window while playing a level. So basically what this will do will actually just straight up reveal more of the level and just let you see more of it, and it's really weird. And my theory is the fact that it's because while you're playing the level, Geometry Dash is rendering like everything all around you, so resizing your window and expanding it like that will like reveal all of that since it's actually being processed. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's my theory on it. And interestingly enough, this is actually the strategy that UFWM is going to be using to verify silent circles, because when he gets past the duel, he's going to be resizing his window to go above the whole level. So Nessus is one of the hardest levels that's technically possible. The level requires 1 trillion clicks per second for 3 × 10 to the power of 9,633 seconds. To put in perspective, that is way longer than the amount of time that the universe will even last. Way longer. Not trillions, not quadrillions, not quintillions times as long. Way more than that. I could do the math for how long that would take, but I can't really be bothered. But trust me, I've done research on this type of thing before. That is no small number. That is a massive number. Okay, so yeah, this level is not to be like laughed at. It's insane. This is some very obscure info, and I'm very surprised that this isn't far down the iceberg. But in May of 2022, while Slaughterhouse was top 1, Arctic Lights was accidentally moved to top 1, but it was almost immediately moved back down. And I have searched far and wide. There are like no screenshots anywhere of this occurrence. And before you like put into question the validity of this is confirmed. It is verified that this happened, but is just very obscure. So basically, a long time ago, Heart Choke, or whatever, claimed to have verified grains of sand, which some people labeled as top 1. It starts off all easy, and it's basically a spider consistency challenge throughout the whole thing that speeds up faster and faster, and then ends with 4 times mini wave consistency. So yeah, it's really hard. And there was lots of evidence of him hacking, such as bad audio quality, some audio cuts, and a pretty loose one, which is the fact that it was a jump from supersonic, which doesn't really mean anything because a jump alone isn't really like a sign of hacking. But yeah, everybody thought he hacked, but despite all this, it was pretty much proven that he didn't hack because he used hand cam later to show him getting 79% on it. Also, this low audio quality, was proven to be just because he has a horrible recording setup. This also was able to disprove the audio cut thing because this was proven to just be an issue with his recording platform. And there have been other victors since then, but it's kind of sad that this never got rated and never really got the recognition that it deserved. In the development of Yatagarasu, it was found out that Mannix either stole or took heavy inspiration for his parts from others like smaller levels and the gameplay and decoration in them, and Mannix only gave credit to the larger creators that he took inspiration from, actively deciding not to give credit to smaller creators, which is just like, it feels like he went out of his way to just be just a piece of crap. I'm not hating on Mannix or anything, but that's just super scummy of you. I'm just like, that's just me being for real. So a while ago, Xander made a tweet saying that until the next update, he was gonna focus on other games like Osu, and there were rumors at the time that he got unmodded because of this, which turned out to be true. On like the main Discord server they used, like with moderators and stuff, they said that he was unmodded due to disrespecting the staff, which doesn't really make sense considering his tweet was just the fact that he was going to focus on other games. Also, semi-related, his level Aleph 0 was turned into a blank level, so basically a free demon, because I guess he never wanted it to be rated in the first place. I found this screenshot of the whole situation going down on the server, and it's kind of funny because this one dude has like a whole like "you're on thin ice, buddy" type of moment. Well, I kind of lied earlier when I said that the whole disrespecting staff didn't align with what he was actually doing, because that was only part of the story. Yeah, so Xander was pretty much bashing on Viprin, saying that he was only doing this for fame and money. So, yeah, it kind of makes sense. He did that along with a lot of other stuff, not to mention, you know, the tweet that we talked about earlier. So, him getting demoted makes sense. I really couldn't find any details on this. I was considering just skipping this entry entirely, but then I found this video by him where he has what sounds like a mental breakdown, where he like yells and cusses and is telling his fans to stop the subscribe the Hexhammer meme. And other than that, I can't really find anything else on it, so I'm sorry.
Funny anymore. At all. They haven't been. There's a reason I fucking stopped. I last did it a month ago. Why is it still a thing? Literally everywhere I go, whether it be a stream or a fucking YouTube video, like 50% of the time, there'll be a reply or several replies saying, like, subscribe to Hexhammer, or some dumb shit along the lines. Like, if you want to pretend that I'm your fucking dad, like Eggplant does, or you Eggplant, or whatever the hell his name is, that's fine. I'm okay with that. But the meme's dead. Meme's long gone. Stop fucking doing it. I hate it.
Despite being one of the biggest artists in the community, MDK still refuses to actually start using Newgrounds. And you might be asking yourself, well, how are his songs used in Geometry Dash if, you know, they're not on Newgrounds? Well, that's just because people will take his songs and re-upload on them. And I'm pretty sure he's fine with that. He just doesn't want to use Newgrounds because it sucks overall. And I've heard from other people that using Newgrounds is just not fun. RobTop has a comment that he hacked. So that way, every time you like it, it actually gives it 10 likes. And I believe it's the second most liked comment in the entire game behind Michigan's winky face. This is self-explanatory. There's a glitch that I don't necessarily know how to do, where you can request more than 10 stars, and you can actually see an example of this on some of Anaban's levels if you check the info on them. Actually, no, you don't even have to do this. In XXOT1XX's I Am Anaban video, and at one of the parts, he goes to one of the levels and checks the info, and it says stars requested 13. This is a theory talked about on Nepesta's Edge of Destiny video, where basically the basis of the theory is that there is a huge luck element in Geometry Dash. Like, for example, he said that like there's just a little bit of luck where like your ship could just go up or down and you don't really know. And I added on to this, and the thing is, when you're playing levels, especially really hard levels, most of the time you're just playing them and hoping that you beat it eventually. Like, you'll notice that when people are going for really hard levels or something, especially in like stream highlights, sometimes you'll hear them saying, I hope this doesn't take me that long, because honestly it isn't really their decision. And that element especially comes into play when you're talking about dying over and over again at the end, because usually, like, if you die at a part very rarely, especially if it's the end of the level, but when you play from zero, you die to it over and over again. For example, when Juniper was playing Future Funk 2, she died at 98 or 99% like 4 times. That's not an absence of skill. That's just getting unlucky. There's some more detail that goes into this, but for the sake of the iceberg, I won't go into it. But yeah. So I couldn't really figure out why, but the level Illusion used to be unopenable on mobile for some reason. I found out about this through a Stormfly video, but I went and checked it, and now it is actually working, and that might be because of optimization updates with 2.2. So this is a really weird situation, and to keep it short, we all know Retro Circles. It's that one like really cool like Easy Demon 9 Circles level, and it has been updated so many times. So the original version, people complained that they didn't like the gameplay, so it was updated once, and that wasn't too bad. But then it was updated again and again and again and again. And these updates did things like nerf the level, make the end screen shorter, and it's just like bizarre. Because, for example, if you were to like go on the servers and get like an old copy of Retro Circles, then you'd be surprised how much different and overall just easier the level is. It's just such a weird situation, and I don't know how to feel about it. So if you're like me and you've ever used a Bluetooth device with Geometry Dash, you know how painful this is. My first experience was this. Actually, no, before I go into that, I'll first actually talk about the entry. So Bluetooth devices have a weird relationship with the game. I'm pretty sure it's just because the game is badly optimized and or coded. For example, Bluetooth headphones will delay the audio significantly. Like, after you die, the audio will keep playing for a second, and then take another second to actually start playing again when you restart the attempt. And for like a Bluetooth mouse, sometimes clicks will just not register, or sometimes they'll take like a second to actually like, you know, register. And I had an experience like this when I was younger, where I got a Bluetooth mouse because I really wanted to play with a mouse on Geometry Dash, but I didn't have a PC or anything, and I thought it would help me get better. But I ended up just thinking I got a crappy mouse, because when I tried it, it just like wouldn't work. I tested out on Stereo Madness. I could barely even do Stereo Madness because the mouse just wouldn't work with the game. and it's really weird. So originally Artificial Ascent started off as a Cataclysm remake, but Anubis ended up losing the original level, so meaning that's now lost to media. And this along with the people on his Discord server telling him to turn this new version of the level into a mega collab kind of, you know, had him stray away from this Cataclysm sequel type thing. Now, so that way there's no misunderstanding, the theming was always there. Artificial Ascent was never going to be like a hell level or anything. Something else I find kind of interesting is this older version of Artificial Ascent actually had a different song, but Surface by Dimran, which is what it now uses, has a similar BPM. And I definitely recommend you go check out Anubis's video on it because he goes into way more detail. And I might have gotten a detail or two wrong, which is why I want you to go like watch that. So yeah. So this was a really weird phenomenon that was happening a couple years ago. You'd only really know about it if you were there to witness it. But back a couple years ago, like the style of some of the thumbnails on the Demons list were switching around for some reason. For example, the firework thumbnail changed to have like the style of the Sonic Wave Infinity thumbnail and vice versa. There was also this weird thing that was happening where tons of the top demons were just having their thumbnails changed to pictures of baby Patrick. Except the Demons List made a post or something where they cracked down on this, and they made a new rule where the thumbnail had to represent the level in some way, meaning that there was no more baby Patrick thumbnails. A player by the name of World Game beat Clubstep in 2 million attempts, blindfolded. This challenge was so hard for him that he went inactive on his account for over a year just to do it. At the beginning of his beating Rob Top Levels blindfolded series, when he was doing Stereo Madness, he said as a joke that he would do Clubstep. So yeah, he came full circle. So massive I swear I keep saying GDs. Massive GGs for that. That's just like insane. If you use hacks to make a level 2 billion minutes long, or more specifically this number, which is the 32-bit integer limit, the game will just not be able to process anything. It just will stop working, and your icon will stop moving forward before it completes the level, and it looks really trippy, and this is known as the X position limit. Yo, and that's the end of part 3. So yeah, massive thanks to everybody who commented on part 2, and it currently sits at like 250 views, which is insane. I'm like in disbelief. Like, I got so many supporting comments on that video. I'll put some screenshots of them on screen right now. Thank you so much. Like oh my gosh, I can't believe it. So thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in part 4.